Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We're gonna look at the Bloodstorm tournament that has been held past weekend. It's gonna be a bit less recent by the time this video is gonna come out, probably. So this was the list that I was playing. I was playing Sentinels of the Bleak Citadels. I still struggle with his name. With the Primal Energy lore, with a Celestin Prime, Lord Terminals with Quicksilver Draft and Shock and Awe. Rear Illusions reinforced, Vanguard Raptors with long strikes reinforced, a unit of Palaros with javelins, and then a Knight Arcanum and 2 units of Quaestor Soulsworn. So let's see how this went. Where are we in the tournament? It's the first round. So this is the venue, this is the place where we're playing. We're an odd 30 people, 34 people or something. So yeah, we have a nice collection of different people, and this was the table where I was playing. And spoiler alert, we are playing against Gits. So squicks painted as wasps, trolls, and other stuff. So yeah, how is the lay of the land? We are playing Scorched Earth, and this is a picture of deployment. So my opponent had. How many drops did my opponent have? So he had these wolfy boys in one, then he had the trolls in one. I think he might have been 3 drops. Let's just see what he had. He had a pack of wolves, he had the Gobblepalooza, he had the trolls, he had Squickherd with a Squickherd boss, whatever. Scrackrot, Squicks, trolls, and wolves. So quite basic, I would say. And then on my side, what I have on the table, as per usual, mostly is the Quaestor Soulsworn, the Knight Arcanum with his trusty gnashing jaws already cast. Then we have the Celestin Prime, and we have the Vanguard Palaros with the javelins. So I struggle to remember whether I allowed my opponent to go first or went first myself. Apparently I went first myself. So I think my opponent had 2 drops as well. One roll-off forced me to go first. And I didn't really mind that, to be honest. So Scorched Earth, you have 8 objectives. I'm still not used to trying to get the underdog and then scoring ahead later. So I'm still focused on just getting some points early on, and then going first in Scorched Earth is really good for Stormcast, because I can actually tag something in with the Paladors and then power through or just deal some damage to nick an objective of my opponent and score 10 points. So what are we doing battle tactic wise? We're gonna go for take the flanks, because my opponent doesn't have any heavy lifting units threatening the flanks or on the flanks. So I thought that would be a good idea. Then otherwise, what are we doing? So we have a unit of Quaestor Soulsworn that started on the objective that could spread out. I am noticing that my opponent has Wolf Riders, so I don't really want to go far away from this objective, because he can redeploy at the end of the turn and then redeploy again, practically, because they have a special ability or something. So I want to be close to this one. I want to ideally also zone out this objective, but I can't really do that with just the Knight Arcanum. But I also don't really want to put another unit there, so there is a chance that these guys will go on here to steal the objective, because they are more mobile enough to do that, probably. This faction terrain is, by the way, a small terrain piece that is just generic terrain. They were missing something, I believe. This is the actual faction terrain of my opponent. So I am just scooching up a little bit to take the flanks and go towards that objective, which is actually also the quest marked objective for the Soulsworn. I made that one the Soulsworn objective because either of these are too central, meaning that my opponent will have resources on these objectives likely, so the Soulsworn will never go on that objective anyway. And if I manage to go on, I will get the Aegis save, so if my opponent wants to commit resources, then he will already face the issues of me having the Aegis save. What else? So the left flank I keep quite empty, just because I don't want to engage the trolls at the same time, as well as the squigs. Like, I know that my opponent has quite a lot of damage in these units, especially with this left unit of squigs being able to get crit mortals. So I want to be able to stay as far away as possible from one unit of trolls to basically make it a linear game in terms of the order in which my opponent's units arrive, so I can deal with my opponent one unit at a time instead of having to deal with everything at the same time. Now, where is an ideal location for this? I think it's here because my long strikes are in a little bit of a protected path. So my opponent can redeploy with his trolls forward if he wants to. He can move up and then he can do a charge. I can also put my reclusions here and, if necessary, redeploy to close this little gate that I make in that way, so that he has to charge all the way around and he cannot get through. So where does the prime stand in this entire story? He should basically have been here. I didn't put him here. That was a mistake, because he could have very easily gone there. My opponent will not have the option of just charging solely the prime and not the reclusions. Might have been a little bit more iffy, but he could have he should have gone there, because also this really screws up my redeploy with the long strikes. I think I was a little bit concerned about the teleport of my opponent being able to go to the objective, but I could just have put one long strike a little bit more to the right. This was definitely a mistake. So why is this a good play? So this distance from the trolls to the reclusions is about, I would say, 15 inches. 15 inches makes it a 6 to move for him and a 9 to charge. So you would have to spend a redeploy to get these guys close enough to go in there in order to attack me with 2 units of trolls. But it's not very likely that he wants to tag me here, because I'm in the forest, which means that he will get a -1 to hit. I also have Shock and Awe on me with another -1 to hit. So even if he uses all-out attack, he will still be at 5s to hit, which is quite crippling to him, probably. So yeah, 5s to hit, not ideal. I will also strike first because I can pop the potion of my Lord Terminus, and with crit mortal strike at his trolls before he gets the strike, likely killing 2 trolls at least. Then 4 trolls hitting on 5s are not going to do that much work. So I think this is a winning scenario, because if he doesn't engage me, I have still my Field Sergeant guy with movement 7 dudes, reclusions, that can just move up and smack some stuff. Like, for example, going towards Crackrod, which I wouldn't mind. And then I think this was I would say maybe a game-winning move. I don't want to be so arrogant about this, but I think this was really, really big brain power. First turn, what otherwise are we doing? So these guys, they moved away a little bit to make this charge longer. I was shooting at them, killed one off, wanted to get maybe my guys on the objective, did not make my charge, did not think it was valuable enough to warrant a reroll. So my opponent's turn 1. So this is the end of the movement phase for him. So these guys indeed did go all the way from there to here. He did dispel my jaws, unfortunately. So sad. He strings out his backlines a bit. Couple blues are there. The character stays there. He has the squigs. I didn't understand why he did this. He just strung out the squigs on the 2 objectives so that he could keep this one, I guess. But he didn't go for my Paladors, which I expected he would do. Instead, he did cast the jaws. He did have these guys coming towards my guys, and I think I redeployed them. Yes. So in response to this move, this was supposed to be over 9 based on the previous picture. I think my opponent got it into an 8 in some way. So yeah, I redeployed these guys to make sure that I could close the gap there. Let's see. So these close the gap. The long strikes at covering fire to remove all of the wolf riders, which I would have gladly actually killed with these guys. So maybe considering that my opponent could move them up there, I should have rerolled the charge there, because that effectively was the same as covering fire. Then again, end result is kind of the same. So yeah, my opponent went in with the trolls. He did, in the end, kill 2 of them. 2 reclusions, actually. How did he kill those? I think maybe... no, not with a spell. I think maybe the trolls threw one to death with a rock or something. So yeah, I did strike first. I did kill quite a lot of the trolls. And then my opponent got to strike and didn't really do that much afterwards anymore. So yeah, this is the current state. My opponent scores 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So more objectives than me. He scores his battle tactic. He didn't score his battle tactic because he did not have do not waver, did he? He had a battle tactic that he didn't score. I don't know if it was this one. Anyways, next round. So what do I take? I think I take attack on 2 fronts. And I basically, so in the previous picture, what are my problems? My problems are the reinforcements. Quite clearly the reinforcements. What do I not care about? These guys. These guys don't care. And the squigs, they seem a little bit scary, but I don't know how glass cannon squigs are, because this is my first game against squigs, you guys. So yeah, this is mostly scary to me. I know how scary trolls are. So basically I want to convince my opponent that these trolls should not go towards this stuff. Then again, this is also mobile enough to not really care too much. But the threat ranges that he has are quite far, because he can reroll the d6 movement on the squigs as well. He can give them mortals. So for example, the prime doesn't really like these squigs. So this on the left side, this looks like a nice objective for the Soulsworn to grab. This is not a combat unit. I am a combat unit. I can smack these people in the face. This seems like a problem that my Knight Arcanum could solve in combat. Kinda, I think. On the other hand, my long strikes are also not that occupied, so I can also shoot with a couple here, with a couple there on the squigs, or maybe even on the trolls. And then I have my Paladors to charge in here and give Scrackrod a bad time for what that is worth. So those were the options that I was considering. I was going to go for Slay the Entourage on the trolls, because that seemed like an auto battle tactic. It was tempting to charge in the prime, however it also seemed a little bit like overcommitting, overspending, and I basically want to stay away from these 2 units on this side, because I don't want to give my opponent opportunities. What do? At the end of my turn it looked like this, so I have no idea, but I brought in the second unit, of course, the Soulsworn here. I think it was to charge the Wolf Riders here, that are now gone. Yes, that was it. So I was afraid that my opponent would get away with these and just go on this objective, be annoying. So I put my Quest of Soulsworn there. The other Quest of Soulsworn were going to go here, so they took that objective of my opponent and they left 1 Gobapalooza and 1 wound. Yeah, so we string out the long strikes, we shoot down, actually with the long strikes, these guys completely and kill a bunch of squigs. The prime, I have no real idea of what I have to do with him this game, just because the trolls aren't that scary, because if I charge them then I think I will survive at least a round. I'm just so unsure about these squigs, because if they have mortals then they're just gonna kill everything, right? So yeah, the Paladors go into these squigs, and apparently, I didn't know that, 3 Paladors can kill a unit of squigs. I mean, there's 2 handlers left, but Otherwise, they're all gone. So I did also shoot 3 long strikes into them, but that's like 6 damage or so from long strikes, maybe 8. The rest is being killed by the Paladors. That was impressive. That It's also not because Paladors are a heavy hitting unit or anything, but squigs just evaporate. They really evaporate. So even worse than Witch Elves. Yeah, so otherwise I do make my tactic of killing the trolls. I'm in a pretty good mood, even though maybe I've made a mistake here with the long strikes being quite close to the squigs there. I think my opponent did a redeploy as well. So I could have put the prime maybe here, put the long strikes there. Then again, maybe the Wolf Riders wouldn't have died then. It's always a balance. So my opponent's turn, what does he do? I should say that at this point we are at about half an hour left in terms of playing time. So I think that's not that much anymore for another 2.5 turns or so. So I am speeding up my game a little bit. But this is what my opponent does. He pushes the trolls towards the quest of Soulsworn, completely unexpected for me. Mostly because I had expected him to either go further up the board or go this direction, but not that direction. On the other hand, it does make sense because I have 2 objectives that I control, and yeah, you have to go somewhere. So the trolls, they were closer to his objective than mine. I was quite surprised by this because this basically takes out the trolls for the rest of the game. He does get some squigs back. I did burn the objective. In hindsight, I don't really know why, because my opponent didn't really have anything left there anymore. But I mean, Scorched Earth, burning objectives, it's a thing that I have to try and see how it goes. So this kind of bit me in the ankle, I think. Because otherwise I would have scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 objectives against my opponent's 3. And now I only score 4 because I burned my own objective. Then again, I had some confusion about at what point my opponent could bring back a unit with the shrine. I was kind of going for the shrine with my dudes here. And it's also an objective that my opponent could put a unit back on with the shrine, because it's within 12 inches outside of 3 inches of the opponent. I thought I could zone him out, but you really can't zone out this resurrection. But it might be worth it to actually shoot down this thing at the start of the game. So, what else? We have these squigs that went into the reclusions. The terminals doesn't have strike first anymore. So he's very unhappy. What's going to happen here is that the jaws actually they nearly mop up the reclusions, I think, which was quite impressive. And then the squigs could pile in and kill most of the long strikes. So that is this. So the long strikes are gone, which is a bit of a shame, but it happens. And otherwise, well, I think Scrackrod did the spell that I think has about the worst design in AOS, which is I'll just deal like 7 mortals to a unit. That is really crippling to stuff like Vanguard Paladors. This Griff is really sad. Look at him. He's just really sad. So yeah, my turn. I am still engaged with the squigs. I just retreat just to have this guy for another day. I score my Reclaim the Realms with this unit being in this quarter, this unit having teleported from this objective all the way over there, this quarter, my Knight Arcanum in this quarter, and my Prime in this quarter. Still haven't used the Prime really this battle. I'm a bit afraid of the jaws at this point. My Prime is a bit of a very scared personality. Like you still remember the day with the Fire Slayers that where the Berserkers just smacked him in the face and he got killed before anything happened. So yeah, what do we still have on the table? Well, we have this band of brothers. It really looks a bit different from the pictures 2 slides back, where I felt like I was in total control of the game, and now it seems to just slip away slowly. So I am scoring a little bit less than my opponent also these last couple of rounds. I think we're now at about 26 tied or something, or I'm a little bit ahead maybe, but it's not by much. So these guys, they went into later next turn also to still take the land as an option. But my objective play is fading. My opponent has 3 objectives right now. I have 4 objectives and I have only 3. So that is an issue for me, a growing issue. Yeah. So my opponent next turn is going to go for take the land on this one, which kind of indicates how desperate he was for battle tactics. And then he doesn't make it because I can redeploy my mage to a little bit of a safer place. He doesn't make the charge on an 11, I believe, at this point. And I have control 2 with my mage. Haha, so it's still mine. The prime actually goes into the trolls and is just chilling there for now. Maybe he will still die though, who knows. And this is my turn after, so I think this is my turn 4. I think so. So I do bring back half unit of long strikes because I decide with my silly head to take the land on his piece of terrain because I was concerned. Well, this I cannot take because I don't have enough control. This I cannot take because there's the trolls. And otherwise, I kind of screwed myself over here with all auto placement because battle tactics are getting a little bit more difficult to achieve. So I went to take the land on this one, trying to shoot down this Gobapalooza dude that was still there. My opponent rallies to Gobapalooza, gets 3 or 4 wounds, 4 wounds back, I believe. I leave him again on like 1 or 2 wounds remaining, and I fail my battle tactic. So that was sad. My opponent did eat up the objective though, and I did manage to cast a charge debuff on him for -1 charge dice with the Knighted Cannon, so I am a little bit more safe because if my opponent comes closer I can redeploy and my opponent has to roll a 6 basically to make a charge. Yeah, so compared to the previous shot, I felt like my prime needed to do something. What I didn't know is that my opponent still had 1 battle tactic left, where he had to charge, I believe, with 2 units, and then one of them had to kill a unit of mine or something, for which the prime was an excellent target. So this was not smart on my behalf, apparently. Also, we had like 10 minutes left on the clock. We each had a turn still left to play. And my opponent started talking about this very wacky plan of teleporting his trolls with the wizard to a place here to have a 9-inch charge to then power through onto my objective. And I was like, well, it's all fair and square, dude, but I mean, you took most of the time this game with only your quick rolls and the troll regen and all kinds of rolls you've been doing, so I don't know if it's really the time to do a really wacky plan at this point, because, I mean, we just don't have the time for it. But he did it in the end anyway. So he put the trolls here with a wizard roll, and then I didn't redeploy because I was like, okay, we don't have time for this kind of nonsense. He did make the charge on the 9. He did kill my unit. He did get the objective and whatever. So yeah, I should have 2 things. I should have been a bit more relaxed about that, and I should have just put a chess clock down at the start of this game. Next time against Gloomspite Gitz, I will put a chess clock down. Anyway, so my opponent still gets this objective with the trolls. I still... Did I do anything with this unit? I don't remember. I think last turn I didn't really score that much. I tried to kill this guy because of Slay the Tyrants, the other one, the other battle tactic. I tried to move these guys up there, so I did a redeploy here, I think. Then I moved here, tried to charge the guy that redeployed in his in my turn over here, after I said what my battle tactic was, then I did not make the charge on an 8 or something. Yeah, and that was the game. In the end, I scored 34 points, my opponent 32, so it was a small win. It was a window. So I was quite happy with all of that. So yeah, started the game, good. First turn, a rather solid. Prime placement is wrong, he should have gone there. Out of reach still of these guys, but just far enough to reach. Just outside of 18 of Scrackrot would be the perfect place. Then after that, my opponent's turn, yeah sure, this redeploy is fine. My opponent failing charges was nice. So yeah, this was all still good. This is where I once again failed a bit between this and this. So I could have moved up the prime charged in. That would have been way better. Oh my god. Because then he is actually contributing and I didn't have to shoot at all with these guys at this. Because with the prime in there as well, I'm quite confident that I will kill 2 trolls. So sure, my opponent will have a prime as a target for Scrackrot. I can move my wizard a bit up to be able to unbind. This is a little bit of a problem, but I can just solely focus the long strikes by moving here, shooting at these guys, not having to worry about anything. So this guy should have moved just out of combat, then made a charge there. Just this should be not that far of a charge. Because if this is the result of some Paladros charging in there, then it should be fine. Yeah, so that was a bit of a bummer this turn. But it's mostly very, yeah, some details in placement, right? So but the general idea was okay. This tagging Scrackrot in combat, don't think it was really useful. Thought I would scare my opponent a little bit with it. Reduce the mobility of the guy, but it only works if you have another threat coming in. These guys charging in, yeah, would have been a way different story if the long strikes had been here, because then they either had to come all the way through and out of the forest to be able to charge my long strikes, or not. And if I can do a covering fire, then it is suddenly just a different story. That was the main problem here. You could just go into the forest, then charge out of the forest, so I didn't have covering fire with these guys. Yeah, this is how this comes out of combat. Can't really do anything about this. Should have rolled my saves better, obviously. So would have been that would have been an option actually. That would have been way better as a decision. So tagging the squigs with my Paladors is good, solid. Don't do anything about that. These guys run and charge and shoot and whatever. They can also just run up here and just shoot up the squigs. Sure, the trolls can come in with a 6-inch move and a charge, but I can redeploy. I can set it up such that I can redeploy away from the trolls. I should just have ignored these guys and just gone for shooting the squigs, probably. Yeah, I think so. Because one unit of trolls has life, that is fine, can handle it. Anyways, this was my army for the day in its full glory. So it's the overgrown Stormcast Eternals. And I did get nominated for the Player's Choice, yay! And I was very happy to find out at the end of the tournament that I actually did win Best Painted with this army. So yeah, if you think it looks great, then thank you, possibly for your vote. And if you want to see it in real life, then yeah, you should come to Eindhoven or meet me at an international tournament sometime. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you then next time.